So, I know it's been a long time since the last Snow White. My hair has changed, YouTube's interface has changed it again, cows have invaded the earth. Okay, not the last one. But that's the beauty of Snow White. It's timeless. Yeah, I'm just making excuses, so let's just dive straight into Snow White and the Three Stooges. And just what is Snow White and the Three Stooges? Well, in the 1950s, the Stooges were doing so well that they decided to make a movie career out of it. And they starred in a number of rather popular Stooge films. This was considered the worst of them. I kinda don't see how. I mean, to my 5-year-old mind, it was enchanting, and one of those films that every time it popped up on Channel 7, I would camp out to watch it. It was bright, it was colourful, and it was one of the reasons that I fell in love with skating. Granted, I ended up doing roller skating as opposed to ice skating, but the gliding and the love of the dance is the same. Since the Stooges keep interrupting the narrator, I'll paraphrase. Our main character, Snow White, played by Olympic ice skating champion Carol Heiss, who can surprisingly sing well, and her acting is, well, more than passable. I mean, there's a couple of moments where she looks like she has no idea, but I'd rather put that down to the actual script and the director more than anything else, just because, like, well, if you were told that you had to get yourself into a branch of a tree and pretend to be stuck for a minute, how else would you act other than this? She plays the role with semi-intelligence, bringing in logic with good-heartedness, but also with that certain amount of naivety that all Snow White seem to have. I swear you can't be Snow White without being ignorant to something. In this Snow White's case, it would be the fact that her royal head of the guard Rolf will do anything to help her, because he's really not going to help her. Playing her opposite, of course, is the Queen, Patricia Medina. A woman with awesome costumes and no bar-hold scruples. Have a young child killed off? No problem. Have your stepdaughter killed off? No problem. Raising taxes to 400%? Pfft, please, it's a breeze. Her main character flaw, however, is the fact that she doesn't know when to stop with this whole vanity thing. But I'll get onto that later. She's aided by Count Ogre, who's, well, an alchemist. An evil man of science! Who owns a magical dagger that grants wishes, but only for the power of good. Foreshadowing. However, his character makes little sense to me. I mean, his relationships, I don't think he has any. He doesn't seem to have any feelings of his own, and I get no sense of ambition from him. Come on, man, you're an evil count. You're a man of science and magic. And other than pandering to your own queen, you have no plot. It's not like you're even doing this to please her and therefore get power from her favor. You might as well be a robot giving out information and giving her the ability to do stuff. Motivation! You need it! We have a couple of incidentals in Snow White's story, like Rolf the head guard, who continually pledges allegiance to Snow White, yet does nothing to help her, or even make her plight a little bit better. Hordred the huntsman, who of course releases Snow after he can't kill her, and of course the king, who's only around long enough to tell us that he's happy to die. No, really, he says that, except he says that in, rather flowery language.
For I die content.
Now, you might have noticed that I haven't mentioned the Three Stooges yet. And, well, that's because they're not actually part of Snow White's tale. At least not yet. They're currently part of a second storyline that's running alongside it. But before I get to that and its main characters, I might as well just do a quick synopsis of what's happening in Snow White's life up to the point of collision. At Snow's birthday party, her handmaiden asks to leave her to marry a dude. They skate, they sing in happiness, Rolf crashes the party because the king's dying. Plotting. Snow locked in the tower. Plotting. Hordred tells Snow that the handmaiden from earlier is dying and is asking for Snow, so she's being released from the tower to visit her. He can't kill Snow White. Snow White spazzes out in the forest, sees a puma. Yes, a puma, I'm not shitting you. And then runs to a house and bashes on the door for 2 minutes before realizing it's open. To the second story. In most cases this would merely be a subplot, except they spend equal if not more time on this story than they do on Snow White's story. What story am I talking about? The missing heir. You might remember that I mentioned that the Queen said she'd killed a little child. Well, it seems that Hordred is just, terribly inept at killing people because he failed to do this job as well. He was supposed to kill the prince of a neighbouring kingdom that was betrothed to Snow White as children, but it didn't work out. Instead of it just being, empathy and pussing out on it, though, it was Stooge Intervention, who, by the way, kind of play themselves. I mean, they play con artists and performers. What's new? But the end result is that the prince has amnesia and grows up to be Quattro, the fourth Stooge, who actually seems to have talent as a magician and as a puppeteer, and whoa, talent downstairs. I really think you should find a jacket or something to cover that up, because it's kind of like Charith from Labyrinth. It's hypnotic. Either way, up to the point of collision, there's nothing really happening with this story except, well, flashbacks. So let our powers combine! I mean, our stories collide. Yeah.
I still feel we're trespassing.
Well, you are just a little bit. In any case, they show up at the House of the Seven Dwarves. Yes, it belongs to them, however, they're currently out mining all summer. And there's an open invitation for the Three Stooges. Go figure. Mo reads a note that was totally not there when Snow White arrived. Odd that. Anyway, so they enter, find Snow White asleep.
It's a girl.
Yes! It's a girl! I would have never worked that out without you. Anyway, Quattro falls in love with her sleeping form. Ew. And when she wakes up, they explain to each other who they are, what's going on and all that. After a slapstick moment, they're simply everywhere in this movie because, well, it's the Stooges. Does it really need explaining? Snow White goes to cleaning and Quattro and the Stooges go off to see the Count about some shindig that they're all holding. They're hoping that they can perform. But don't worry, it's not really going to happen. Mostly it's just an excuse so Hordred can recognize the Stooges from the flashback and that they can sing at the princess. And so Quattro can use a puppet to show how much he loves Snow White. But you're going to have a bit of trouble there, Quattro. She really seems to like that puppet. Well, the Queen has asked the mirror about the heart in the box and has found out that, well, it's...
This is the heart of a pig!
And so they torture Hordred. At least I think they tortured Hordred. It could be some ritualistic sex act. You know, the kind you wish didn't happen. I do have to question the Queen's blame, though. Hordred basically admits he hasn't killed anyone, yet she puts the blame on Ogre, who doesn't even defend himself about it. It's just sort of, huh? Rolf, however, does seem to be very deep in thought. Is he going to do anything? No. Back at the romance, however, basically Quattro keeps using the puppet as a disguise for his affections, but Snow can see right through it and plays along with it anyway. But then he starts breaking out the whole they don't belong in the same world together. I'm not good enough for my queen. I don't even know who my parents are. Yeah, just in case we'd forgotten that he had amnesia. So they sing. Quattro turns into a bobblehead doll. Okay, I know that you can't just sit there static and sing. It's not a good film technique. But I really think he's overdoing the head motions. So they're about to kiss when... Oh, Mo, you cockblocker! Guards show up, but the Stooges have hidden Snow White away with them in a rather luscious willow tree, and Quattro just stands there. The guards do a terrible job of searching for people. Of course, they have no idea that Snow's even there, and they're kind of really just here for Quattro because he's Prince Charming. Which kind of makes him go, huh? And they go away with him, so the Stooges decide to get him back. Quattro gets presented to his childhood nursemaid, but I have no idea how they managed to procure her. I mean, he came from a neighbouring kingdom. Rolf finally speaks to himself.
The rightful king.
Yes, Rolf, the rightful king. Are you gonna do anything? No. The Stooges, very thinly disguised, use slapstick as their way into the castle. How many pies can they fit in this one man's face? 9. Trying to slip a file to Quattro in the form of a sandwich, but pretty much just ends up slapsticking the guard anyway, so no real point to any of that. I mean, it was nice to know that they had a backup plan, but it should have been plan A. Oh, and of course, there's a huge battle/chase scene where, oh shit, Quattro shot with an arrow. He is dead! The Stooges find this amazing curtain thing. Like, seriously, I wish I could lie in that thing like a hammock. I used to have dreams about having that as a bed. And a guard arrives announcing that Quattro is, that is mutton! And so, of course, as this conversation is going right on underneath the curtain, the Stooges find out, and slapstick exit! where Curly Joe grabs the magic wishing sword as they leave, and Rolf makes a big discovery. Quattro's not dead. The Stooges go and pick up Snow White and have a little chase scene with their wagon and ride straight off a cliff! Except they got out just beforehand. And the guards pretty much take it at face value, so the Stooges decide to flee the country with Snow White, and she's like, oh, where's Quattro? And they're all like,
But he'd want you to, don't you see that?
because for some reason at this poignant moment they can't seem to say, he's dead, let's keep going. But of course Curly Joe doesn't know that he has the magic sword, and with his hand to the sword says the following phrase.
You say Alice Abai and be on top of the highest mountain in the whole world.
And lo and behold, that's what happens! And well, for the highest mountain in the whole world, one would assume that we would be at the peak. So why does there appear to be higher mountains in the distance? Unless they're all part of the one bigger mountain. But why would you ask to be placed at the middle of the world's tallest mountain? Curly Joe makes another wish to be in a lovely little cabin instead, and that's where they go. And so Snow's all like,
Joe, wish for Quattro to be here too.
and so finally they tell her the bad news, and well, it doesn't go down very well. And oh yeah, this is an ice skating film, isn't it? Since there's nowhere to skate, we have to have a dream sequence. So pretty much it's just her and Quattro skating together in love, and then the Queen comes to kill the poor bastard again. Also, that's so totally not the Queen. Notice how we never see her face. And oh look, it's the Stooges come to save the day. And for some reason, the puppet is now a little boy who laughs like some sort of nightmare creature. Yeah, I'm totally gonna hear that noise in my nightmare for years now. And she gets all her subjects back to dance with, but fail. The Queen has come back to finish the job, and Snow is left on the ice. Oh, wet. Yeah. Oh, come on. It's not me if I don't make at least one dirty, perverted joke. Meanwhile, the Queen has found out that Snow White has survived, and of course, still wants to kill her.
The magic powers that protect Snow White's beauty.
The magical powers that protect Snow White's beauty? Is there some magical force that, saves her from death because she's beautiful? Is that what we call the Stooges these days? The Count, however, raises a very valid point. If Snow White is away in another country, why does the Queen still want to kill her so badly? So we get treated to the most stupid line ever.
How little you understand a woman's pride.
No. How little you understand a woman's pride. This ain't it, lady. This is the sin of vanity, to the point of evilness. I mean, at least the other queens who faced this whole Snow White thing, at least are all in the same country. She lives on like another continent now, and you still want to kill her.
Black art to transform me into
So she also gonna make her into a crone with his magics and science. And at least he uses proper ingredients, like no concept shit like the Black of Night. And so the Queen skulls it and looks up like, can I have another, please? As a crone, she looks like a Halloween witch. I mean, it's very similar to the Disney version, but at least that didn't look like they just put a wig on her and put some silly putty on her face. So Ogre gives her an apple to kill Snow White, but with a boring and time-thrilling twist. Basically, she'll be alive for, 40 days, 40 nights, then she'll die forever! Ha ha ha! So basically, Quattro's got 40 days to find her. He gives her some other shit, like red fire to help with disguises, which she's already disguised, and a broomstick. So he turned her into a witch. Meanwhile, a healed Quattro and Rolf leave a rebellion just as the Queen leaves to kill Snow White. Man, I love how this guy dies. And so they take over the castle. But where did Quattro learn how to fight? I mean, he's been a minstrel for like 14 years. This isn't sexual at all. And so we slam down the Count into a vat of hot tar. So, Quattro is king of both lands! That's definitely a step up from being a puppeteer. And he promises half his fortune to the man who can bring him Snow White. I hope he realizes that he has more than just what's on him these days. I mean, like, half his fortune is like one of the kingdoms he holds. Meanwhile, back with the Stooges and Snow White, they're living very happy families up in the cabin. And Kelly Jo does the sweetest thing ever.
Aren't you going to kiss my hand?
I always say it with flowers.
Only one?
I get tongue-tied.
Oh, that's so sweet. Basically, the Stooges are going hunting and, Snow White's gonna stay behind. The Queen's having fun flying through the sky, and now is disguised as a gypsy woman. What was the point of the witch's outfit then? Snow pretty much falls for it though. I mean, why don't you think about how she got there? I mean, she talks about being turned away from other houses. What other houses? You're in the middle of nowhere! Anyway, for her kindness, Matilda gives her a shiny apple which looks plastic or toffee because it's so shiny. And Snow White is so dense for apples, she eats it. After the deed is done, the Queen comes across the Stooges and shoots lightning at the Stooges. Why not do this to Snow? And whence came this power? So Curly Jo fixes her wagon with the magical sword, and then they consider the possibility that that could be the Queen. Gee, you think? They find Snow White sleeping in a weirdly semi-crucified pose, and while they appear to check for a pulse, they consider her dead anyway.
Be safe here.
So Curly Jo tries the sword again, but no! The sword only had 3 wishes. They attempt to appeal to the sword like it was a real person, but unlike a real person because they throw it in the fire once they get no response. Guys, I'm appalled at you! It's still a sword! You still could kill something with it! As for Quattro, he's pining for Snow White, and some dude that we've never met before now is trying to pressure him into getting married. Ralph mentions to the Queen's mirror, so of course they rush to it! So the mirror tells him that his heart will guide him the way, because obviously it's got a map. And so he gets quite an orange and goes for a travel montage! And of course, here it is, the last day, and Snow White is somewhere being redressed. Ew! The Stooges must have seen her naked and touched her when they redressed her, and ah! Anyway, Moe's looking out the window just in time to see Quattro pull up.
Don't you recognize me?
No, you're wearing way too much orange to be recognized. I don't think you even realize how much orange you're wearing. So once the whole I'm not dead thing comes out, he says the fall brought back his memory. Of being what, 7? Did you lead a rebellion on the memories of being a 7-year-old prince? Apparently the Stooges didn't bury her because she was so beautiful they didn't have the heart to. Oh, look at that corpse in our parlor. Isn't it just the most beautiful thing you've ever seen? Time to get your Mac on, Quattro. Yeah. But instead he talks to her and rocks her a little bit, and it works. What? I mean, the Stooges rocked her already. How is your rocking any different? And... No, I'm okay. I'm okay. So once they get the whole, I thought you were dead. No, I thought you were dead. They have a kiss. Whoa, that's the end of the movie. Ice skating to the exit. What are the Stooges wearing? Ah, well, so that was Snow White and the 3 Stooges. A quaint, okay, probably really only enjoyable to me film. But I still don't see why it was so bad. I mean, it was even known as their Technicolor blunder. Okay, it was a little corny, but everyone played their parts alright. I found Carol Heitz's Snow White charming, and I found Edson Stroll's Prince Charming / Quattro debonair, yet kind of creepishly endearing. You know, creepy, adorable, it's the same thing to some people. Patricia Medina's Evil Queen is delightful. I mean, okay, some of that would be me digging her awesome costumes and all that. But she plays a queen who's surrounded by incompetence, yet she's not prepared to give up any of her power. I mean, like, really, Ogre in most other situations would be the main manipulator. She's downright mean. She's the embodiment of evil for selfish purposes. She's the queen of 2 kingdoms, and yet she's ready to wreck it all for one woman's beauty. It's probably more the secondary roles that let this down. I mean, okay, that's probably mostly the writing. They're quite, you know, 2-dimensional characters, and they're not really rounded out people. I mean, Ogre could have done with a subplot, or at least a motive. Portrait the Huntsman just seems to be a plot device more than a character, and the head guard just talks about his good intentions and does nothing. I mean, really? Didn't do anything for Snow White when she was in danger. Oh, the prince still lives. Well, let's break out the fucking brigade. And let's not forget the Stooges. Well, they're just doing what Stooges do best. Slapstick, pies, and your mother. I mean puns. Most of the music is quite forgettable. The only exception really is a song called There's a Place, and the lyrics of that just drive me up the wall because they make no sense. As for the adaptation of the fairy tale, it just seems like a whole lot of overcomplication. I mean, there's two storylines running alongside each other that meet at two different points and take main characters from each other and drop them on each other's sides, and it's just mind-breaking. And for, like, if we follow them in terms of their main characters, one story's got hardly anything and the other's got everything. Okay, if we look at Snow White's storyline, no, let's look at Quattro's. We'll just look at Quattro's. Quattro's storyline goes, having almost been killed at 7, Prince Charming loses his memory, becomes a strolling minstrel with some underbongs that found him, and on return to the kingdom where he was found, not even where he was from, meets a girl who he falls in love with, who happens to be a princess. While he's trying to protect her from being kidnapped, he gets kidnapped, gets told he's the prince, gets shot with an arrow, which almost kills him, and gives back his memory, gets revived by a head guard who helps him run a rebellion and become king. Only he's still hurting for his girl, so he pretty much has to scour the globe to find her, and upon finding her somewhat dead, he shakes her and she wakes up and they get married. Her story? Dad dies. Mum almost kills her. Well, not mum, but, stepmom. Same thing. Runs to the forest. Meets the Three Stooges. Meets a guy she falls in love with. Oh no, guy died. Hides away with the Stooges. Dies. Guy who was dead wasn't actually dead and comes back and resurrects her. They get married. This really should have been called Prince Charming and the Three Stooges, with guest appearances of Snow White. Though you gotta admit, I do love the idea that they made Snow White in love with ice skating. It really works well. So, I suppose it's time to wrap all of this up. I was an Amazolka, and shut up, I like this film!
There's a place in the sky called happiness.
Unhand me, varlet, unhand me. I abdicate.